Have you ever woken up and felt overwhelmed by the weight of the day ahead? Have you ever found it difficult to enjoy the simple moments, the blessings in front of you, because you're so focused on the stress, the pain, and the challenges that life constantly seems to bring? Do you struggle to truly believe that this day, no matter how hard or uncertain, is a gift from God, something to be celebrated? I think we've all been there at one point or another. Life throws curveballs, circumstances get messy, and there are times when we're so burdened by yesterday's failures and tomorrow's worries that we forget the promise of today. But what if I told you that today, this very moment, is full of grace, full of opportunity, and full of hope? Psalm 118 declares, "This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." But how often do we really rejoice? How often do we actually stop and rest in the truth of this verse, trusting that God is working all things together for our good? Today I want to talk about the power of resting in God, having faith in His plans, and how trusting His hand can transform our journey to success. Let's start by talking about faith. Faith isn't just about believing that God exists or that He's watching over us from a distance. Faith is about believing in the depth of our soul that He is actively involved in our lives right now. It's about resting in the assurance that no matter how chaotic things seem, God is in control. When we live in faith, we stop striving for our own strength. We stop running ourselves into the ground trying to solve every problem, and instead we trust that God's hand is on us, leading us step by step. That doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing, but it means we work with God, trusting that He's guiding us towards success in His perfect timing. There's something deeply powerful about letting go of our need to control everything and placing it in God's hands. When we do, we allow Him to reshape our path in ways we could never imagine. The journey towards success becomes less about fighting battles alone and more about walking in partnership with Him. This mindset shift is transformative. But let's be real for a moment. Life is hard. The journey toward achieving success, whether in our careers, relationships, or spiritual lives, is filled with challenges. We face failures, rejection, heartbreak, and sometimes it feels like we're taking 2 steps forward only to fall 3 steps back. It's exhausting, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. You are listening to this today feeling weary from the constant fight. You've been hustling for years and you're still not where you thought you'd be. You have faced disappointments that have left you questioning your worth, or that it is too late for you, or you've been so focused on achieving your goals that you've neglected your own health, your relationships, or your faith. The reality is that success, real, lasting success, comes at a cost. It's easy to get so caught up in the pursuit of achievement that we forget to pause and recognize that every single day is a gift from God. No matter what yesterday looked like, no matter how far you feel from where you want to be, today is another chance. It's a chance for healing, for growth, for redemption. God's mercies are new every morning. His grace is sufficient for every moment. We need to remind ourselves that the struggles we face are not evidence that we're off track. They're not a sign that we've been abandoned. Instead, they're often the very tools God uses to refine us, strengthen us, and prepare us for greater things. There are countless examples of people who have faced immense hardships, but emerged stronger on the other side because they trusted in God's provision for each day. I want to share a few stories with you to illustrate this. There's the story of John, who was laid off from his job unexpectedly. For months, he struggled with unemployment, financial stress, and feelings of inadequacy. It seemed like every door he knocked on was slammed shut. But in the middle of this difficult season, John made a choice. He decided to surrender his plans and trust in God's timing. He committed to praying daily, asking God to show him where to go next. And slowly doors began to open. Not in the ways he expected, but in ways that ultimately led him to a career that was more fulfilling and aligned with his purpose. Today, John looks back on that difficult season, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Why? Because he learned to truly rely on God, one day at a time. Then there's Maria, who went through a painful divorce. The emotional toll it took on her was unbearable, and she felt like her future had been shattered. But in her darkest moments, Maria held on to the belief that God could make all things new. She started to embrace the truth of Psalm 118. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Even when she didn't feel like rejoicing. Over time, Maria's heart healed. She found joy in the small things again, and she discovered that God was bringing new purpose into her life. What seemed like the end was actually the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. What both of these stories have in common is that these individuals recognized the importance of today. They chose to believe that every new day was filled with new grace, new opportunities, and new hope. Even when their circumstances told a different story, they didn't let their past define them. Instead, they trusted that God was making a way for them, and they walked forward in faith, one step at a time. There's a pivotal moment in every person's journey where they realize that today, this very day, holds incredible power. It's a moment when you understand that if something from your past is still haunting you, you have the grace to bring it into order today. If you've been procrastinating on something God has called you to do, you can step into it today. If there's a relationship that needs healing, you can begin the process today. When we fully grasp that each day is a gift, we start to live differently. We stop dwelling on the mistakes of the past or worrying about the uncertainty of the future, and we begin to make the most of the present moment. We start to see our struggles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones to the greater success God has in store for us. Faith and perseverance lead to a breakthrough, but it's not always easy. It takes a daily decision to trust God, to surrender our plans, and to rejoice in the day He has made, regardless of what it looks like. That's where true success is found, in the faithfulness of today. As we draw to a close, I want to remind you of one important truth. Pain can be a powerful refining force in the pursuit of success. It's often in our most difficult moments that God shapes us the most. He doesn't waste a single tear, a single trial, or a single setback. He uses it all for our good. When we choose to see each day as a gift, when we rest in His promises and trust that He's working even in our pain, we begin to experience success in every area of our lives. Success is not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming the person God created you to be. And that journey starts today. So as you leave here today, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you can do today to step into the grace God has for you? What's one area where you need to trust His hand more fully? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know how you're finding strength in today's grace. And if you want more encouragement on your journey of spiritual healing and growth, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice, be glad in it, and walk forward in faith.